I'm Holly Goddard, and this is Leader to Leader. This is where we have conversations to name the tensions in leadership and help you lead in a way that creates a ripple effect of lasting impact, because leadership is not easy and you shouldn't have to do it alone. And today's conversation, it is one of a kind, honestly, one I've been looking forward to for quite some time now. And I wanted to entitle today's conversation, "A Professor, a Pastor, and a Performance Coach Walk into a Bar." But I thought that might be inappropriate. So instead, we're gonna do better than a bar scene. We have created your own personal board of directors because we can all benefit from learning from leaders that are down the road on this journey from us. And these three voices, they have been so impactful in the leadership space, and they all bring a different perspective on what it means to lead with purpose. Arthur Brooks is here. He's a Harvard business professor. He's authored 15 books, and he is an expert on the science of human happiness. Andy Stanley's here. He's a pastor. He's our fearless founder here at North Point Ministries. He's also an author and a leadership expert, and his teachings have helped people make better decisions and live with fewer regrets. And then Jason Jaggard's here. He's a performance coach. He's an author, a podcast host, and a speaker, and the founder and CEO of Novus Global, which is an executive coaching firm that helps the world's best leaders and their teams go beyond high performance. So as you can see, this is a stacked lineup. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. So excited for this conversation. We're gonna dig into purpose, what it is, why it matters. And Arthur, I want to start with you.
All right.
I want to level set with a definition, because purpose can be vague, cliche, and I've heard you talk about how purpose grows in ordinary life. So give us your working definition and why we need to care personally.
Yeah, so I write a lot about meaning, and meaning is one part of happiness. So happiness isn't a feeling. Happiness has macronutrients like food. Food is protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Feelings are like the smell of food. That's evidence of food. And one of the biggest mistakes that we make today is we think about our feelings all the time. We talk about our feelings incessantly. And feelings are nothing more than signals from your brain saying that something is going on. The parts of happiness are enjoyment, satisfaction, and meaning. Meaning, in turn, also has parts to it. The meaning of your life has three parts. It is why things happen the way they do, which is coherence, why your life matters, which is significance, and then the big topic today, which is why you're doing what you're doing, what's your goals and direction, where are you going, that's your purpose. So the whole point is your purpose in life is where you're going and why you're doing what you're doing, which adds up to meaning, which leads you to happiness, and that's why it matters.
So it's really the first thing we need to get right.
That's the first thing we need to get right. And it's so funny because in my field, we do all these experiments with undergraduate students, and we ask, you know, we give them arbitrary purpose-driven goals. They just weirdly get happier. So a student who's feeling kind of depressed, and you give a student a goal to get a B- instead of a C+ in one semester, that gives them purpose when they wake up. It's even that kind of arbitrary goal. Imagine a big goal. Imagine a big set of directions in their life.
So you can fake it till you make it. If you just start down that road, it'll get more clear.
If you find a North Star and you start toward it, life gets better.
Wow. So here's a beautiful example of taking personal purpose into the organization. Andy, I want to talk to you for a second. Here at North Point, our mission statement for years, it was your personal mission statement. Yeah. And then as our organization evolved, so did the mission statement. But one thing that you've really been unwavering about is the why. You keep the why in front of us. So why are you so dogmatic about the why?
And these two things obviously relate, but the why around anything is where we find inspiration. I mean, the what is, the what can be kind of generic sometimes, but when we can get behind the what and say, okay, here's why this is important. For example, if we're not successful, here are the consequences. If we don't do what we do, here's what's missing. Our community is poorer if the following things don't happen. And I'm convinced in any organization, regardless of what kind of product or service it is, there is a why that will connect people in all their various responsibilities within the organization to find the energy and the motivation to get up and show up at work every day. And the responsibility of the leader, and even every time I talk about this, I feel like I fall short, is to connect the dots between here's what we've come to work to do, but here's why it's important. And if I can keep churning on the why, then people engage with the what. But without a why, it's just a job. And again, if you're feeding hungry kids or helping the poor or working in some nonprofit, it's pretty easy sometimes to find the why. There really is something measurably at stake. But I'm convinced in any organization, there is a why that matters, and as leaders, we've got to connect those dots.
Well, and leaders like to play high stakes games.
Yeah,
So if you keep that in front of them,
Yeah.
it keeps them engaged.
We want to win, and the why is why it's important that we win as an organization.
That's great. Okay, Jason, you coach people through this all the time to stay focused on their why, but here's what I know about leaders. Leaders are really restless.
Yes.
Yeah, they're ambitious and they're restless. I've actually never felt more known when I read this statement in your book. You say leaders are both simultaneously bored and simultaneously overwhelmed.
Yes.
Yeah, several of us, we were like, he sees me. So, what's up with that?
Why?
Why? Why the pendulum swing, and how do we break the cycle so we can just stay on track?
Well, it is fascinating when you are both bored and overwhelmed at exactly the same time. And a lot of this has to do with your internal models, like your schemas, right? And you're overwhelmed because your internal model says you're at max capacity, but you're bored because you're not at max capacity. And so one of the ways you break the system is by transcending the system, by upgrading the kind of questions you ask. We've talked before that your life is defined by the questions you ask and the questions you don't. And many high performers are asking questions like, how do I do a good job? Or how can I be the best? And we at our firm and our coaching, we've become obsessed with what we call a meta-performing question, which is not asking, how can I do a good job? Because that's a textbook path towards overwhelm and boredness. And also, how can you be the best? That will absolutely make you both overwhelmed and bored. But if you can get obsessed with a question, what am I capable of? And what are we capable of? Then suddenly, on its face, it absolutely solves the boredom problem. You will not be bored
Right, there's
anymore.
so many possibilities.
Yeah, but counterintuitively, it solves the overwhelm problem because, to Arthur's point, once you find purpose, it gives you a sense of peace in the midst of the crisis and the chaos. And so it allows you to both have this adventure, but not be afraid at the same time.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you can be brave and adventurous.
Yeah.
Love that. Okay, let's talk about how purpose gets distorted. A lot of leaders, they achieve whatever they set out to do, and then they still feel like something's missing, even feel kind of hollow. The other day, I was behind a McLaren, which you've talked about these before.
Yeah, those are nice cars.
I had to Google it because I was like, this looks expensive. It's like the cost of.
Very expensive.
You Googled a car while you were in your car about a car?
Yeah, and I did.
I did.
I was intrigued. My mind was wandering. I thought, what must this guy's life be like, or woman? And
It's a guy.
It's a guy. I'm glad you said that.
No, I got the data.
Yeah.
It's a guy.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna love this part. So his license plate said 2.3 GPA, which I thought, okay, like he wants the world.
I know. That's called a walking middle finger. Right there.
Or a driving middle.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted the world to know, look, I've achieved some things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he has. It's impressive.
Trust funds are coming in.
Yeah.
But it made me think about this conversation we're about to have, because I think a huge temptation of a leader is to get success and purpose mixed up. So let's talk about that for a second. Andy, let's start with you. Talk about what happens to leaders that win outwardly but lose internally.
Well, I don't know if you can tell me if this doesn't answer the question, but what came to mind in the interaction there is there's a difference between success and the rewards of success.
Yeah.
And when we're young, all we think about we think about all the stuff we want and what we want to experience. We don't think of those things as the reward or the end of something. We think of it as the end. But as once we get into our careers and stuff, those things are the rewards of success. And the rewards of success are like any reward. There's a moment of elation and a moment of thrill. And then we put the trophy on the shelf, and then it's gone. And into the important work that Arthur does, understanding the difference between the reward and the emotions associated with a reward and happiness or contentment are two different things. And the person that thinks, if I can just stack up enough rewards, there's gonna be some kind of internal momentum that makes me fulfilled on the inside. And they are really two completely different things. They are related, but one doesn't lead to the other. And where we've all seen this, and those of us especially who've traveled to impoverished places in the world or difficult places in the world, and we meet these happy people who seem extraordinarily content, and as an American, I'll just make it personal, I'm discontent on their behalf.
Yeah.
But they seem perfectly content. And so there is something inside of them that is completely detached from all the things that I want to associate or I'm tempted to associate with happiness and contentment. And I think for those of us who have the option for both, because most of us in the United States have the option to have the rewards of success and yet the contentment and the happiness that we talk about, understanding the difference and not confusing the two are extremely important. And in raising our kids, helping them understand those two categories is so important as well. I think that's what you're.
Yeah, that's it. No, I really want to differentiate between success and purpose, because we tend to chase success, and the dopamine hit is short.
Yeah.
You get quick ones. That's why I want to go to you next, because I just have heard you talk about how our brains, they're actually wired for meaning, and they do different things. So if our brain is set up to be able to tap into purpose and meaning, why do we get stuck so easily?
Well, our Mother Nature lies to us consistently. And one of the reasons that we chase these worldly rewards is because our brain tells us that if we get that thing, that the satisfaction that arrives as a result of it will hang around forever. But, there's a song written about this. During the coronavirus epidemic, my youngest daughter was a senior in high school and miserable at home with her parents. I was living in Massachusetts, which was deeply locked down. I realized that the virus didn't really make it to Georgia, but
no.
But I would come down every day and she'd be miserable at the table, the laptop and some sorry excuse for math class. And one day she's laughing, and I say, "Honey, what are you looking at?" And she says, "I don't know. I got this. YouTube sent me on the algorithm. It sent me a video. The funniest thing I've ever seen." I said, "Well, what is it?" She said, "I don't know. It's this really old man dancing like a chicken and trying to sing." And I'm like, "Well, I got to see it, because trust me, I needed to laugh at that point in my life too." So I came around to look at it. The old man dancing like a chicken and trying to sing. It was Mick Jagger.
Oh no!
Right? And she didn't know who he was, because kids these days, right? And she's like, "Why do you people like this? You people, right?" By which she meant old people. And I said, "Honey, it's not the song. It's the words. Listen, I can't get no satisfaction, but I try and I try. It's wrong. You actually can get satisfaction. If you couldn't, you're not stupid. You wouldn't try and try and try. The words should be, I can't keep no satisfaction, which is why I keep trying." And that's how our brains are wired. That's a mistake that's wired into how we've developed, how our brains have developed biologically, so that we stay in the hunt. And the only way for us to actually find purpose and meaning in our lives that sticks around and lasts, real satisfaction, is by moving from that animal impulse for more into the moral aspiration for enough. And we have a choice of doing that, because we have a very advanced brain, our prefrontal cortex, that can allow us to stop doing the thing that ultimately doesn't bring satisfaction. That's where the moral impulses that come from the way that we live our lives, we don't follow every crazy lure all the time. People who break out of addiction have figured that out. People who, they go to church instead of going to the bar on Sunday morning have figured that out. And that's what we need to do, is to unshackle ourselves from our animal impulses. Look, a golden retriever doesn't have this option. He sees the cookie, he eats the cookie. But we can actually make that decision and say, money, power, pleasure, fame, I know it's hollow. I know it's hollow. I'm going to go for something greater than that. And I say to my students on the first day of class, I say, look, you think that if you get the money and power and pleasure and fame, that then happiness will come for free. But here's what I'll teach you this semester, young friends, that if you actually search for happiness, then you'll be successful enough. And that enough word is what makes them panic, and I have to work on that for the rest of the semester.
Wow.
Enough for what?
Enough for them, enough to feel like they're enough.
Gotcha.
See, here's the thing.
Gotcha.
We want to feel like we're enough. That's meaning. Meaning is to have enough, is to be enough. And look, I work with success-addicted people. I work with strivers. I don't work with slackers. Mm-hmm. So do you. I mean, you're the striver whisperer, right? Right?
Yes, yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
I've been
And
trying
that's
to
really
figure out
important.
what he did now. Now I know.
Now you
what
know.
really
Now I know
Yeah.
the sound playing.
Because the strivers, there's not enough. There's not enough. There's not enough.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't feel enough. This is why strivers, by the way, they spend their whole lives trying to earn everybody's love.
Yeah.
They try to earn their parents' love, and they earn their friends' love. They try to earn their spouse's love. They try to earn God's love. Yeah. That's the fuel, but it also ultimately leads to a deadness.
No, you go, please.
Well, I'm curious actually what all three of you think about this, because one of the things I think about a lot, because you could look at coaching as kind of like striver crack, right? Like,
Yeah,
like we're
totally.
gonna,
Yeah.
because we come in and we kind of ruin your life. You know, we say, you think that you're doing good, there's a whole other gear for
Right.
you. And so one of the things I think about a lot is the difference between complacency and contentment. Right? And I think a lot of people confuse the two, and they think that they're content, but really they're just complacent. Because what I would hate to see is a person feel like they're enough and then not go out the world with vigor and a mission and purpose and excitement and to expand. And there's another, like, if coaching is like spiritual crack, then sometimes certain spiritual literature is almost like spiritual weed, and it like chills you
Where
out.
do you live?
I lived in Venice Beach for a while.
California.
Covered all my tats.
Yeah.
Keep going, sorry.
Yeah.
Right, but you know what I mean? Like we've all, you know, there's like certain leaders sometimes who, they take really ambitious people and then suck the ambition out of them, and they call that contentment.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious how you would interact with that idea.
Yeah, that's not contentment.
Yeah, what would you call that, and how does that intersect with
I
purpose?
think what's striking me that all of you are saying is when you're chasing this success and striving, everything is outside of you for you. And I hear you saying when you tap into meaning, you start doing things with a different motivation, like it's
Right.
for someone else.
Well,
Yeah.
and you're the expert, Arthur, so correct me if I'm wrong, but be kind. To be a means to an end is what meaning means. The word meaning or meaningful means that whether it's this or this or this, it's all a means to an end. If there's no people, if there are no feet, then a shoe loses
Doesn't
its
have
meaning.
value,
Right.
yeah.
So when I can find in the rhythm of life, whether it's professionally or outside my profession, a way that I position myself, and this is where the intentionality is so important, because if you don't drift into this, to place myself somewhere with my time or my resources to where I am a means to an end and I'm not the end, that makes me meaningful. And if I'm only busy doing things that bring things in my direction, if I'm a means to my own end, no matter what I drive and no matter where I live and no matter who I know, there is an emptiness because I'm not a means to an end beyond myself. But that's what meaning means. It's a means to an end beyond the thing. And and that's why everyone has the potential to have a meaningful life, because everybody has the opportunity somewhere in the world to put themselves in that position. And I think, and I don't want to keep going too long on this, but all of us can think of a time in our lives where we were filled with joy, in fact, these are the memories that if you think about them for just a few minutes, you'll feel the emotion you felt a year ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago when you were doing something and you were 100% a means to an end that wasn't you. Those memories, they maintain the emotion.
Years later.
When I think about buying my truck that I love, I have no emotion. When I went to the dealership and it's like, it's a truck and I love my truck. But when I think about the reveal when we built the home, the playhouse, the dollhouse for the girl with cancer, and we did the big reveal and we spent the whole day painting, and I'm a terrible painter, I'm covered with paint. Gosh, that I can still feel that. So we have to be intentional about putting ourselves in those roles. Otherwise, we can live a meaningless life, other than what happens with family. And I don't want, again, with family, we're kind of forced into meaning, but that's why sometimes family is this is central in terms of meaning in our lives.
That's so helpful. The road to purpose is really outside of you.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's end with a rapid fire question for all of you. Give us one habit that you've embraced that keeps you personally anchored in your purpose. Start with you, Arthur.
Putting down my phone. Putting down my phone. I mean, it's actually managing my technology and not letting it manage me. The average American looks at his phone 205 times a day. Cut it in half. And that means having certain times during the day where I say, nope, not gonna take it with me. Go to the store without taking your phone. It's a personal triumph. It's an exercise in strength over the limbic system in your brain. That's a practical one.
Yeah.
No phones. What about for you?
And Arthur and I have talked about this. My morning routine just what I won't do in the morning, what I prioritize in the morning. And I just think of it, the word I use, and you said it, is just recentering. And again, making myself small, because when I think about the broader context of life, time, how quick time's going by, when I get recentered with my devotional life and my prayer time, I have a routine I use, just walking through the Lord's Prayer, that just, God is great and I'm not. God is big and I'm small. And just recentering in the morning, when I just don't miss that. For me, it is something that carries through the day.
That's good perspective.
Yeah.
Jason, what about for you?
I love this question, and what I think is a habit that has over the decades contributed the most to my success is intentionally putting myself in developmental communities. And I think there's 3 represented on the stage right now. One is education. Education is a fantastic developmental community. After I graduated college, I audited classes and went back, and I loved, as I taught at grad school and things like that, I really enjoyed being in the educational space. Church is a fantastic developmental community, right? It's not a club, it's a gym. You go there to work out your character. It's a really beautiful thing. And then coaching or mentoring or counseling, anything like that. But those spaces, if you rhythmically, like every 7 days, the relentless return of the Sabbath, it's coming. I don't have to plan it. Other people are planning it. I can just show up and participate. And doing that over time as a habit has been one of the most character-forming things in my life, and it's contributed to my success.
That's great. You've almost created like a board of directors like this for yourself.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for sure.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you. When you get 3 leaders like this together, one conversation is just not enough. So we're gonna continue this with part 2, which is coming your way soon. Next time, we're gonna talk about purpose through the different seasons of leadership and what it means to persevere along the way. You don't wanna miss it. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next time.